Reawakening. We all have our yin and yang, our lightness and our shadow side, if you will. And as our dreams can reveal, so too do our astrological signs. Welcome back to Reawakening, the Dream Interpretation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Mann, and shortly I'll be joined again by dream interpreter Yvonne Ryba, who shares one of her dreams from her archives about her first husband, and two animals representing their signs, a crab and a scorpion. But as we'll see here, a scorpion is not all sting, and this animal's more positive aspects gave Yvonne pause for reflection on how to deal with her first husband's crabbiness. So stay tuned and let's join Yvonne. Hi there, Yvonne. How you doing?
Hey, Chris. I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, happy fall.
Okay, thank you.
Thank goodness. What do you have for us this month from the Dream Vault, perhaps?
Well, I thought I'd do a dream where horoscope symbols come in, like Leo and Cancer and so on. And mine is Scorpio.
Oh.
And I have had several dreams where scorpions pop up.
Right.
So I found a dream from a long time ago that when I was reading through my books, I got dream journals from the 80s, okay?
Right.
In fact, I've got some from the 70s, but not many because I didn't start really writing them down until a lot later. But this one is from November the 30th, 1989.
Okay, nearly 30 years ago.
Yep, getting there. And at the time, we were living in California, my British husband and I, and we were having a bit of a difficult time with his work. He was brilliant at what he did. He painted pictures. He was an artist, and he also did decorative work in high-class homes for, film stars and producers and Beverly Hills sort of thing,
Cool.
So we worked a lot there in California and around the country because people usually have houses in different parts of the country. So we were all over the country doing these things. But any artist's life is always up and down. And you might go a lot of work and then suddenly have nothing for a few months and you have to sort of scrape by.
Mm-hmm.
So and I think we were in a difficult time. I'm trying to remember it. But anyway, what I'd written was that we'd been having a difficult time. Things had started to pick up a little bit. But I was getting picked upon by my husband because you always sort of go for the nearest and dearest, when you have a problem.
Sure.
You take it out on them. And I was feeling a little bit like I'm getting the backwash here of him feeling insecure and not getting the work and having arguments with people at work and so on. So, he'd have somebody working for him who wasn't doing the job properly, and that would aggravate him and come home and sort of be, difficult. So I had this strange dream.
Okay, lay it on us.
I'm going. Here we go. Okay, I dreamt that he was sitting silently in a strange garden. I'm not sure why it was strange, but it was strange in the dream. The sea was close by, but you couldn't see it. It wasn't visible. I could hear it, though. I was talking to somebody else who was there, a woman, who said to me that I had a scorpion tangled in my hair. I asked her to take it out. I mean, who wants that?
Right.
Then I thought, it might sting me any moment, so get it out of my hair. And then I saw that its sting and rear segment had been torn off and were lying on the ground. So it couldn't hurt me. I realized the significance in my dream of the birth sign, Scorpio. I mean, in the dream I thought, oh, Scorpio, I'm born in Scorpio.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw a crab heading along towards my husband. Now, his birth sign was Cancer the crab, so this was his sign, okay? As it was walking along, how they go, sideways, it was laying eggs. But ants were coming out and eating the eggs or carrying them off. And I felt like the crab was a little bit sort of repulsive. I wasn't too keen on it, but at the same time I felt sorry for it. And that was the end of the dream.
Okay,
so
yeah.
I'll tell you what I wrote down at the time, and then nearly 30 years later I know a lot more about dreams, but this pretty well covers it, although we've got some extra details we can put in. Now then, the stingless Scorpio is a higher power, my higher power, right? And it tells me that I need to be the Scorpio, but without the sting. I don't need to be nasty, all right? I don't need to sting to protect myself here. So as far as going with my husband, as far as talking to him and trying to defend myself, that it's not my fault that we're in this situation, he's in charge, but I'm getting sort of like grumbled at and picked at and made, to feel like I'm to blame in some way, which we both knew wasn't true, but that's him taking it out on me because he couldn't handle it. But it said, don't come back at him as you could by saying things. I could have said, let's face it, it's your responsibility. You should do it. You know exactly what to do. That wouldn't have helped the situation.
Right.
I have to use the other part of the Scorpio, the brain part. Now, head. Remember when we first started doing this, all parts of the body mean something. So, and your head is your reasoning part. It's where you think. And hair are thoughts. And this scorpion's tangled in my hair. So it's representing my thoughts. And it says, use your brain, okay? Use your power, but don't use your sting. And I didn't. And we did get through this. I mean, I recognized that all this vulnerability and insecurity was coming from inside of him and needed to be assured and just be smooth and easy with this situation. Now, the crab, what I wrote down was, the crab, in his symbol, was very productive, was laying eggs, but the efforts were being eaten up by the ants, all right? Now, obviously, here he is, going around doing things, but he's not getting what he needs out of it. Something is stealing it from him. He was having problems with people who weren't paying him. Sometimes they were eaten, sometimes they were taken away. Somebody steal an idea or steal a job or do something like that. So that was probably part of it at the time. That's what I thought. What do you think?
Well, if he's a crab and ants are bugs, are we saying perhaps that he was a little crabby, a little irritable in general, and perhaps especially so during these times?
He was very crabby, yes. Yes, he was, yes.
And then he had his productivity, his offspring, his results were being carried away, perhaps by others, perhaps by his own irritability.
Yes, and bugs, that's a good one. Because most insects in dreams can be looked at as a kind of wordplay or is something bugging you, all right? I once had a dream about ants. I looked down and they were running up my legs into my pants, okay?
Ow. I hope they weren't red.
Yeah, and when I woke up, it was very short, this dream, I thought, ants in your pants, you see? The word play, right. And I thought, I'm getting really irritated with something. I could remember what it was at the time, and I was a teacher in England, so often you get irritated with things. And I was thinking, I understand that, ants in my pants. It was kind of funny how your subconscious will give you a little picture that it really is incredible. It covers the whole thing. So he was crabby.
That's it for sure.
And he was being sabotaging himself at times. But yes, other things were making him anxious and insecure and so on. Now, I've got to say that later on, I had written, because I sometimes go back and read these years later and write in the bottom something like, this improved, things got better. And I'd written that in 1994, which is like 4 to 5 years later, that we had a big improvement and things, we got over all of that. And so that was good. But that was a really interesting dream. What do you think?
Well, I definitely think so. And it's like he was reacting to things in ways that weren't productive. And you had a choice to be reactive using a negative aspect, a sting, or the more positive aspect of the scorpion, of your personality, of your sign, and something that was perhaps more soothing, something that was just more productive. And so you made that choice. If you had gone for the sting, it would have made things way worse, right?
Yes, it would have. And there was no point in it. And I think that was probably that was telling me this is the best way to handle this kind of a person. Mm-hmm. You don't blow up. You don't fight back. I could have said, look, here, this is your thing. You did this, you did that. But no, there's no point in doing that. We're both in this boat together.
Right.
on the ocean. If I put a hole in it, we both go down.
That's
All
it.
right? So we need to support each other. And that's what I worked at, being supportive without being sort of a doormat. And so sometimes that meant me just going out, just moving away or doing something else in the house, just ignoring him until he calmed down. And when he did calm down, he was very good. I mean, he got over it, but you had to know that, it could take a while for him to get over it.
So you sort of tried to neutralize the situation as much as possible, it sounds to me, yet being productive and positive also. I'm a Taurus. If I had a dream like that, would it be perhaps that the bull in the dream had lost its horns? Would that have the same sort of significance?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're a Taurus and you have a dream where the bull has lost its horns, maybe you should look at the way you're reacting and use the other more positive aspects of that sign and not just go gore somebody, right?
That's right.
We don't want any gore in our dreams.
No.
What was the significance of the garden? You said he was sitting in a garden.
Gardens are they're a symbol that we all have at some point, and so is the ocean. And the sea often shows up in our dreams. It does in my dreams, even if it wasn't visible in this one. So the garden is a beautiful place, usually. A place of growth, fruitfulness, beautiful, pleasant, a place to relax, a place to enjoy things. When he was only a few months from dying, and he died in 2004, my husband said, I had a dream where I was in a garden. It was the most beautiful garden. He said the colors were incredible. Now, he was an artist, and color was very important to him, and he understood color. He could mix colors. It was incredible, the way he could do stuff. So his parents were in the garden. Both had passed over. And I said, did they speak? And he said, no, they just smiled at me. Now, he wasn't a gardener. His father was, and he used to make him do gardening, and he hated it. But this garden really impressed him. And when I say garden, I'm talking about a flower garden, because in England, that's what we say. We don't say yard. A yard is something different. Garden is a place of flowers. It can be vegetables, but mostly it's roses and whatever else you want. Anyway, so I said to him, well, it seems that because he had this, congestive heart failure, that when your time comes, this is like your parents are saying, we'll be there to welcome you, and it's a very beautiful place. This is where we are. It's very beautiful.
That's lovely.
And, have no fear here. And I thought to myself, means that he's going to be passing over soon, because that's what it felt like to me. And he did, just a few months. And then one day he got up, and then he felt sick and couldn't move, and got the ambulance, and he'd lost consciousness before he left the house. But, we had time for a few words together, which was very precious and very loving. And it was the end, and that was it. And I'm sure that he did go into this beautiful garden.
I'm sure.
I was there. I was in the hospital when he died, but he never recovered consciousness. His blood had become too thin and bled into his brainstem. And,
goodness.
Yeah, that was a terrible thing.
He must have gone right to that garden. And so for that garden to have shown up in your dream in 1989, that had a special significance. So this was his place, his surroundings, and his work, etc. Colorful, beauty, and yet even in this dream of yours, even though he was in this space, all of his ideas, his little crab eggs were being taken away by irritations and other little ants being little thieves.
Or sabotaged or, whatever. Yeah. So, gradually, and this is where the spiritual side of life is so important, gradually he got through that. And I became a science of mind practitioner eventually, and so on and so on. So he read all the books that I had. It helped him tremendously. When he was ready to go, he was in a much better place than he had been. And I was very grateful for that.
That's...
it's good to know somebody's, cleared their mind of a lot of the negative stuff.
That's right.
You want to see them feeling open to the good of life, and that's when your time is up, it's you move on to something even better. That's how I feel.
Absolutely. And take that consciousness with you, because
Yes,
I think we both believe that when you do pass, that consciousness is your soul that
yes.
carries on, and you want to be in that place of consciousness, so that you are aware of all the beauty ahead. Well, I like that dream. I like that dream.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad that you weathered the storm with him, because it
Yes,
sounds like you had many fruitful years ahead.
yes. We had a lot of good times,
Yeah,
There were lots of ups and downs. And the thing is, a man, especially somebody who's very good at what they do and that can't find work to do it,
sure.
especially the creative part of them, it's very frustrating. And frustration has to come out in all sorts of ways.
Yes.
They can't handle it. Gradually, he learned how to handle it. But that's, what I learned as well. I mean, I learned to help. And I suppose that's why I'm here. That's part of my mission in life, is to be a help, as well as
Yes.
to do my own creative stuff. And I
Yes.
think we all have to know what our destiny, our mission is,
Sure. I like it. And you learned through that dream, perhaps, that this aspect of the Scorpio is more helpful and more productive
Yes,
and more creative, certainly.
yes, it's a funny thing. Yes, I always think the Scorpios, people are scared of scorpions. I seem to, when I first got to Texas, I had a lot of scorpions at my sister's house. She said, we never see scorpions until you come.
Wow.
And I wondered if there was some kind of a symbol as well. Like, they just started showing up when I was there. I thought, well, I could do without this. Yeah, funny.
Well, it's always a pleasure to talk to you and hear something from the vault. And
Thank you.
I look forward to doing it again later on this fall.
That's right, yes.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Reawakening with Chris Mann and Yvonne Ryba is a Rising Action Media production. Copyright 2017 by Chris Mann.